So Simon has aniridia, and he's also the father of Wasim, who has aniridia too. So Simon's going to tell us what it's like to navigate aniridia from both sides, as someone having it and bringing up a child with it.
So I was born in '83, and I was the first person in my family to have aniridia as well. My son was born in 2010, and I always knew there was a chance that I would pass on the phenotype for PAX6, and we'd had all sorts of. My parents and I had blood tests carried out. I think it was Professor Van Heiningen actually who analysed the samples, which would have been in the early 2000s, and at the time they didn't find any abnormalities in PAX6. But I remember being told at Moorfields, well, there's still around a 50% chance. But that was as much genetic counselling as we had at the time. So I suppose when Wasim was born, having the diagnosis was, it wasn't necessarily unexpected, but it was still quite worrying. He was born in Barnet Hospital in London, and it was identified, I think, the day he was born or the day after, and he was seen by an ophthalmologist at Barnet Hospital, but she quickly referred him to Professor Tony Moore, Great Ormond Street. So he was under Tony Moore's care for the first few years. So I think we were fortunate in that we were in London and we were near to Moorfields and Great Ormond Street. But when he was around 1.5 or 2 years old, we moved to Nottingham, as my parents wanted us to be nearer to them. And then we transferred to Queen's Medical Centre, where I think both he and I found that there wasn't the same level of care or expertise in terms of dealing with aniridia and related eye conditions. And unfortunately now we've moved to Rugby, so he is being seen at Moorfields once more. And I think he's due to be transferred to the adult services clinic. Well, he'll probably be seen in clinic for the external eye disease clinic, like me, probably under Daniel Sibley or Saj Ahmed. And so he's now 16. He's nearly 16. He's in year 10. He's not quite sure about what he wants to do, but he's doing reasonably well at school. And fortunately, I think things have developed a lot. They're probably still not perfect, but in terms of special educational needs provision, the schools he has attended in Rugby have seemed to have been much more forthcoming in terms of support. There have been a few difficulties with things like his photoreactive glass lenses, and some teachers haven't read through his file and understood why. Then they've queried, why is he wearing sunglasses when he's indoors? But generally, I think things have been a lot smoother for him than they were for me when I was going through school. And I think probably from a father's perspective, as somebody who has aniridia and many other related eye conditions, I think that's helped me in a way to empathize with him and to be able to understand what he might be experiencing. For example, a lot of his friends are now talking about learning to be able to drive, and we've obviously had to have the conversation about how his vision won't be sufficiently correctable. And I went through that when I was 11 or 12 years old, and as a child I was somebody who was obsessed with cars, so it was I remember how difficult an experience that was for me when I was being given that information. And I think also it has helped in that when I've gone to medical appointments with him, I've been able to ask questions. For example, at Moorfields, he was being seen in the paediatric strabismus clinic, and because I've recently, in the last 5 to 10 years, I've started to have issues with cataracts, and corneal scarring or aniridia-related keratopathy. So obviously a concern I've had is that he might suffer some deterioration in his vision or chronic eye pain later on in life. So I have, and this was obviously never, maybe it wasn't known about, widely known when I was a child. So I've now asked for him to be referred to the paediatric cornea clinic at Moorfields Eye Hospital, and he will be seen under external eye disease. So hopefully he's in the best possible place. But they've said so far he does have cataracts, but there's no sign at this stage that he has any issues with his corneas. But we do keep nagging him to put his lubricating drops in. Quite how often he's doing it, we don't know. But I suppose overall that would be my observation as a parent who has aniridia is being able, having had that first-hand knowledge and the experience, being able to, I suppose it helps in terms of supporting and empathizing with what a child might be experiencing, in summary.
Thanks, Simon. I think that's a really interesting thought through there. So, as you say, kind of, when you're a parent with aniridia, you're what I call an intelligent client, right? You kind of know a bit of stuff.
Yes.
You become kind of armed, whereas when you're not, and you kind of the parent of a child with sporadic aniridia, you have to become that intelligent client. It's a bit of a learning curve before you can kind of engage, and unless you get connected with the right support, it can be really quite isolating and quite difficult. So
Yes,
a big difference there.
yes.